mushroom. Live. Ciao, everyone. I have the amazing executive chef Filippo Piccini holding the camera. Thank you, chef.
You're welcome.
Today, Thursday, May 21st, we have class number 8 of Petra Belliti, our Italian wine ambassador. Petra Belliti's passport to Italy, Italian wine class number 8, and now we're going to go to the region of Campania and Basilicata. So, chef, follow us into the wine room where the Italian wine ambassador is ready for us.
Ciao everybody, welcome. I'm excited today. We're going to talk about a lot of fun stuff, and while people still joining and you're getting ready, so as Randy rightly said, we're covering the region of Campania and Basilicata, and those two regions have something very important in common, the volcanic soil. So I thought that maybe today we talk a little bit more about terroir, and I tell you a few things that are very interesting about what a volcanic wine is, or per better say, a wine from a volcanic area. Because there's really no volcanic wines, but they're volcanic coming from, they're wines coming from volcanic soils, and lots of different type of volcanic soils. So one thing that, while we wait everybody to join, I wanted to show you the wines that I prepared here. I'm gonna go behind the table, because the one closer here, the one to the left, are gonna be all from Campania and Basilicata. But here, I put out some wines, and some of those, like the Soave, we already covered. So Soave would be a wine from northern Italy, possibly the only one, that comes from volcanic soil. And then I put this from a great friend, Carla Benini, Sassotondo, in southern Tuscany, very close to where Filippo is from. And and this is a blend, but it's made in Pitigliano, where again you have a lot of tuffo soil, Tuscany. And then I put a lot of Sicilian goodies, mostly all wines coming, of course, from Etna. So you will see these labels again next week when we're gonna cover actually Sicily and Sardinia.
You might want to mention that wine, Petra. We're doing a really a special on that right now, so maybe we'll talk about it later,
Yes.
but keep that label in mind.
Correct. Very, very great wine, single vineyard. We'll talk more about it. Then great friends of ours, Firriato, Sabbia dell'Etna, another example of Etna Rosso. Graci, one of the big names on Etna, Quota 1000, which means that it's made at 4,000 feet elevation. That's what it means. 2010, which was actually a great year too. An example of Etna Bianco, which are Carricante grape based. Okay, from Altamora. Okay, so I wanted to show you those. While here you have a beautiful display of Campanian wines, and maybe Randy just can show you. All of those have in common, again, the fact that they come from areas where there's volcanic matter in the soil. And this is a great book that I just got for myself. If you're curious about learning more about volcanic wines, it's actually on sale now on Amazon. I would definitely recommend you to, if you're curious about reading it. It's a great, great book. I just started reading it, but it's awesome. So definitely a good reading to learn more about this specific topic. Now I'm gonna let Randy put the font in the thingy. In the meantime, I'm making sure that you have the correct wines prepared. So one is the first one, the white, is gonna be the Falanghina D'Ora di Paolo, okay? And the red is gonna be your Gricos Aglianico del Vulture, okay? So make sure you have them open and ready to go. And I think we can get started, right, Randy?
We sure can.
Perfecto.
And can I just ask, all those wines you showed, we're going to open up and drink during this class, right?
Correct. So
Nice.
I hope somebody wants to cruise by later and help us finishing them.
Yeah.
That's a lot of wine.
If the phone gets jittery a little bit, you'll know why.
Very good point. Okay, let me start by showing you the little map that today I printed, so you can see it better, about where the two regions that we're going to talk about are located. So the one in black is Campania, and the one in yellow is the region of Basilicata, okay? And for both this region, the most important grape is a red grape, and it's Aglianico, which is why we put those two regions together. And today we're gonna try an Aglianico actually from Vulture, so from Basilicata. But over here in the display, I put a lot of other Aglianico from different areas of Campania, from Irpinia to Sannio. There's a lot of different areas where they produce Aglianico, okay? And if you have questions about that and the difference between different Aglianicos, I'll be happy to answer questions to you. So today, class number 8, okie dokie. And let's not forget, next week, class number 9 with the islands of Sicily and Sardinia. If you do not have your kit yet for next week, let us know. We still have, of course, the kits available. And also for today, if you are joining this live but you do not have the wines, but then you're curious about trying those wines, let us know. We can set you up with the 2 wines that we are trying today, and you can rewatch this live on our YouTube channel, okay? So you can always have fun and retaste and listen along with us. Okay, let's get started. Remember, we talked already a little bit about this in the previous session, in the previous class on Tuesday, when we covered Puglia. Once we're talking about this area, we are talking about the area that was known as Magna Grecia, the Big Greece, the Big Greece, exactly. Also known as Enotria, Enotria. Enotria means the land of wine. So you can understand how important this area was already for wine production back at Greeks' time, which we're talking about 800 before Christ. That's when the Greeks arrived in this area. And of course, with them, it's when viticulture kind of went to the next step. It started before with the Phoenicians, with the Etruscans, but definitely the Greeks brought a lot of innovation for what concerns viticulture. Okay, for example, here in the south also, you're starting to see very different style of training system for the vines. For those who are not familiar with what training system means, it's the way how the vine is let grow, either attached to a pole, cordon, guyot. There are different ways to train, but in the south of Italy, and we'll talk about this also for Sicily and Sardinia, you find a lot of what's called alberello. Alberello is pretty much the plant, it's let grow as a tree on its own, okay? This is very typical of southern Italy. Now in Basilicata they also have other specific training system which were actually brought in the 1500s by the Albanians, and it's like a super cool, if you have Google open, you can check that out, but it's a super cool tripod system that where 2 of the poles are mobile and the central pole is stable. The vine are pretty much attached to the mobile poles, and what happens is that about 4 times a year they rotate the mobile poles in order to give the plant the right amount of shade with the leafage to protect the grape, because Basilicata, as many of the southern regions, has the problem of very, very hot summers. So in this way, the sun changes the way how it shines on planet Earth. So for 4 times a year, they kind of change how the vines is located. So it's super cool. Now it's also a very high maintenance kind of training system. So it's mostly abandoned, but you still see vineyards trained like that. And some very famous producers like Elena Fucci on Vulture still use this ancient and older training system. Very cool. So if you're able to get a picture on Google, please look at that. Well, Campania. Let's start from Campania a little bit. When you talk about Campania and volcanic soil, you could possibly write a book just on that. Campania is, I would say, the volcanic region of Italy. Wherever you go, you're gonna find some kind of volcanic matters. Of course, it's gonna be more pure basalt volcanic soil closer to Mount Vesuvio and that area, but there has been so many eruptions throughout the thousands of years that you find volcanic dust, volcanic tuff, and a lot of other material everywhere in Campania. Some areas more, some less. Same thing with Basilicata, with a difference that in Vulture you find the oldest volcanic geological soil in Italy, along with the area of Soave, along with, for example, Tokai in Hungary, along with some areas of Willamette Valley in Oregon. Those are considered very, very old volcanic soil, and in theory the best for viticulture. If you think about the volcanic soil in the area of Taurasi, or in the area of Taburno, so in Irpinia, in Campania, or Etna as well. Those are much younger volcanic soils. So it's still developing. The actual material that comes from the lava flows, it's still turning itself into clay. So and the roots have to go through a lot of hard rocks, which is what lava turns in when it cools off, which is not really suitable for viticulture yet. Okay, so keep these things in mind. We talked about the Alberello. Some other things about Campania. We all know that Campania is famous for, first of all, being gorgeous, beautiful. It's the region where Naples is based, but it has a lot of beautiful areas from the Amalfi Coast to the island of Ischia, and then inland, where the best Aglianico come from, because Aglianico actually prefers continental climate. If you don't find a lot of plantings of Aglianico with Mediterranean climate next to the coastal area. So Aglianico really likes, and again I'm focusing on Aglianico today because we're gonna try one, but yeah, Aglianico prefers volcanic soil, high elevation, and possibly farther away from the sea. And we'll talk more about other characteristics of the grape. Other things about Campania, very famous for Pompeii. I don't know how many of you have been gone there and visited, but definitely a magic place where it's almost like time has stopped, and you see these images that really bring you back to when that big eruption happened. In terms of geographical characteristic of Campania region, it is mostly hilly, about 50%, 35% mountains, and then about 50% flat. Again, the volcanic soil and mixed soil with volcanic, schist, clay, iron, and limestone is the characteristic of of Campania. In Campania, they have 4 DOCG and 15 DOC. Okay, and in the 4 DOCG, actually 2 are Aglianico based, while 2 are white wine based. Fiano and Greco di Tufo, which are the main white grapes. Sorry, I got confused here, but let's stop 1 second about the most important grapes of Campania. So we said Aglianico. The second one would be Piedirosso. That's actually one of the preferred blending partners with Aglianico because it adds a level of freshness to the wine. Aglianico is a pretty deep and fuller style of wine. Piedirosso is more spicy, more fresh. So in Campania, it's the preferred blending partner for Aglianico, mostly in years that were particularly warm, for example, where Aglianico mature more sugar content, therefore more alcohol. The wine is very rich, so sometimes a little percentage of Piedirosso, which is allowed, can definitely help the drinkability of the wine. As per the whites, the most important one are definitely the Falanghina that we're gonna try today, and then Greco, Fiano, and then you have other ones such as Asprigno, very fun variety. You should, let me actually write this down for you, because this is something you should Google. Asprigno is one vine that is still cultivated in Campania on trees, meaning that the pole of the vine is actually a tree. And when they do the harvest, they have to put very long scale, how do you say that in English? Sorry, ladders attached to the tree, and just climb up the ladder with your little basket and go get the grapes far up there. Asprigno. There we go. If you Google this, I'm hoping I'm holding the sign in a way that you can read it, but you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. Pretty amazing and fascinating, like the training system in Basilicata that I was talking about earlier. Going back to Campania, again, I told you that there are 4 DOCG, which are the Aglianico del Taburno, Taurasi, and then you have the 2 whites DOCG, which are the Fiano di Avellino and the Greco di Tufo. Okay? Remember, we talked about Greco, but we talk about Greco Bianco for Calabria. And I said that on Tuesday there are two different varieties. And the varietal, it's not called Greco di Tufo. The varietal is just Greco for Campania. And it's di Tufo because for the DOCG, the grape are sourced in the area, in a specific area, okay? So that's what di Tufo refers to. Let me see what else here is important, because then I want to talk a little bit more about volcanic soils, about the food of Campania. We have one of the most amazing pasta produced there, dry pasta, tomato, the San Marzano tomato that you all know. It's a specific breed, the best tomato breed for sauces. Pizza, oh my goodness, pizza Napolitan style, the little bit thicker pizza, the beautiful fresh pizza margherita from Naples, unbeatable. And then limoncello on the Amalfi Coast. You're driving through these very curvy roads that are, it's a little bit freaky. And when you are in a bus, I was there for a field trip with my high school, and I have to say it was pretty scary when you are on a big bus on this tiny little curvy road going down the hill, but you're surrounded by these beautiful terraced hills that either have vines or citrus plants, from oranges to lemon. So the production of limoncello on the Amalfi Coast is, of course, one of the fundamental production in Campania. And then the pastries like sfogliatelle, pasticceria in general, or the pastiera napoletana. Those are all amazing dishes that you find in Campania. Now, also to say a couple of words about Basilicata, then we'll focus a little bit about volcanic soil, and then we'll go ahead and taste the wines. It is the third smallest region of Italy. Now you know what the other two are, right? Correct. Valle d'Aosta, number one smallest. Molise, number two. Basilicata, number three. The weather is actually quite cold. Basilicata can be considered a continental climate region. And it's pretty much known in terms of wine for one grape, and it's the Aglianico. That's what's planted pretty much everywhere, mostly in the northern area of the region, around the province of Potenza. And that's where the Aglianico del Vulture is produced, which has to be superiore in order to be the DOCG, and the only DOCG for Basilicata. When it's not made in a superiore style, it's just a regular DOC, like the one that we're trying today. Do we remember what superiore means? I'm sure somebody answered. Hold on, I'm gonna go ahead like I did the other day and take the phone so that I can actually look at possible comments. But yeah, so superiore refers to higher alcohol content in the final product, okay? So in order to be a DOCG, it has to be superiore. In other cases, we saw that a wine gets the DOCG appellation just when it's a riserva, which means extra aging. In this case, just if it is a superiore. Other things about Basilicata, it is, again, very small in terms of other varietals, very similar to other regions of the south of Italy. So you find Bombino Bianco, you find Malvasia, you find Fiano, and for the reds, you pretty much find Aglianico, as I said, and then a little bit of Malvasia Nera, that would be Puglia influence, and also Primitivo, Puglia influence, because it's right attached to the region, one of the region that borders. Now, I'd say I'm gonna start talking a little bit about volcanic soils and then about the two varietals that we're trying today. Again, Falanghina and Aglianico. First of all, does anybody know or wants to try to guess before I say it, what does it mean, and if there's like specific characteristics that are unmistakable in wines that come from volcanic soil? I don't know if somebody wants to try to guess. What do you think volcanic soil is gonna be rich of, for example? I'm looking here. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like I'm seeing the comments. Well, yes, ash, dusts that deposit on the soil as ashes, for sure. Then, of course, there's gonna be lava rocks that through thousands of years had weathered, that transformed themselves into clay. And then, of course, it's gonna be a soil that is rich in minerals, potassium, phosphorus, all the elements that any plant needs to actually develop very nicely. So it is not normally a fertile kind of soil, but it is quite rich in nutrients. Does that make sense to all of you? Is there sulfur? Of course there is sulfur. For example, in certain areas of Campania, I was reading it on the book, there's a specific area when you get off the freeway and the smell of sulfur, you know that you are in an area where there's something special going on, because it's really evident and it's there. Let's remember that the Vesuvio in Campania is still an active volcano. We think that maybe the next eruption will be in about 500 years, so we don't have to worry too much about that. What's worrying in Campania about the activity, the Vesuvio being still alive, it's seismic problems, but they're not too worried about all of a sudden eruption. We know that Vulture instead is an extinct volcano, so not to worry about living around that volcano. But as well, and then Etna, that we're going to talk about next Tuesday, definitely a very active volcano. Okay, in reality, this area of Italy, it's the only area in all Europe where you still have quite a bit of active volcanoes going on. I wish I knew there was going to be a test. Lisa, I know, I'm sorry, I didn't tell you, but you still answered perfectly to that question, so you're good. So this means that, again, when you talk about volcanic wines, it's hard to generalize because it depends how close the soil is from the actual crater that has been keeping exploding and exploding through the centuries. It depends on many factors. So it's not like a volcanic wine made in a specific area is gonna taste or should be taste as a volcanic wine made elsewhere. So there's a lot of different type of volcanic soil. Therefore, a lot of different expression of wines coming from these areas. But there are certain elements that are recognizable. The high acidity, so it should never surprise you when you drink a wine coming from a volcanic area if the acidity, it really makes your mouth water. So spike acidity and very pronounced minerality. So they're almost, some volcanic wines are almost gonna taste a little bit salty. And also some kind of savoriness. So instead of having a lot of fruit elements, they're also gonna have a lot of tertiary notes that are not fruit related. Herbs, tobacco, leather, things like this are gonna be very typical in wines coming from volcanic regions. Let me see if somebody else asks something. Again, I can't see. Smokiness, somebody said that you're gonna find a smoky thing. Yeah, yes, Tommy, I'm turning into a geologist now, but it'll take me a little bit. Yeah, very good. Minerals, whoever said that, yes, right? Bravi ragazzi, you know a lot about volcanic wines. Let's say a couple of things about the varieties that we're gonna try, and then let's try them. So Falanghina, it's the most planted white grape in Campania. It is also among the three most important whites, so Falanghina, Greco, and Fiano, the one that it's price point wise, because again, I'm talking to mostly consumers, you're definitely gonna find on the market Falanghina that are a little bit more approachable in terms of price than Greco and Fiano that can be actually more expensive. Also because remember, those are the DOCG. Oh, yeah, sorry, Randy. I finally understood what he wanted, the phone. Falanghina comes from the word phalange. It's a Latin word, F-A-L-A-N-G-A-E, which it refers to the way how the train system for Falanghina was done originally, that remembers the shape of a phalange, which was the Latin name for a specific military, how do you say that, Randy? A military formation?
Formation, yeah.
Perfect. So that, it appears to come from there. It is grown pretty much everywhere in Campania, but there are certain areas where Falanghina express itself better. Also, Falanghina likes volcanic soil like Aglianico. The one that we're trying today is from Irpinia, which is actually, it's like saying Chianti in Tuscany. It's a region within the region, and it's actually also where the best Aglianico from Campania come from. The Taurasi and the Taburno are both based in the area of Irpinia, which develops from the center of the region to the northeast of the region. So around the province of Agrigento and Benevento. Okay? Did I say right, Agrigento? Hold on. Taurasi, Benevento and Avellino, sorry. Avellino for Taurasi, Benevento for Taburno. I told you the wrong thing over there. So Falanghina, normally it's a very pleasant, easy drinking wine. The characteristic of Falanghina are gonna be a nice spike acidity. In fact, it's also used, let me put it in front. Can they see already? Mm-hmm. It is also used to make sparkling wine, mostly when it's grown in the area of Campi Flegrei, where there's even more minerality. So they produce some amazing sparkling Falanghina. This one, of course, is a still one. Let's look at that. Normally Falanghina, my lighting is here is terrible, but normally you find a bright yellow color of Falanghina. Some can get with a little bit, maybe a couple more years of age, a little bit golden reflection. And then in terms of organoleptic characteristics, Falanghina is described as a grape that is gonna mostly, where you're gonna mostly find pears, stone fruit, yellow apples, sometimes some herbal notes, grassy notes like you would in a Sauvignon Blanc, for example. Sometimes citruses. So let's see what this one tells us. And no oak, just so you know. Most Falanghinas are not made with oak aging. A little bit different for Fiano and Greco. They tend to use possibly a little bit more oak in the aging of Fiano and Greco, not for the Falanghina, very rare. Yes?
I used to have a question. Is there sulfur in the wine?
Yeah, we went through that, Randy.
You did?
That's
Oh,
why I
I'm
had
sorry,
fun,
yeah.
But
sorry.
we're talking about characteristic of volcanic wines.
There was just a question there.
Yeah. Definitely the acidity is there. That should remind you also, it should give you nice citrus elements. You feel that? I can personally taste the pear and the apple. Not a lot of stone fruit in this one, which is another characteristic of Falanghina. I don't know about you, but you might taste peaches or apricots. They're definitely in the organoleptic characteristic of Falanghina. Little bit of a bitter finish, but not too much. Anybody else wants to say something about this before we move to Aglianico?
There are comments that you should just be a geologist. You could do a series of. Yeah.
Why do you think about this book, Mr. Beyond Clever? I'm working on it. I'm gonna start with volcanic salt, then I'm gonna move to something else.
When I started college a long time ago, my degree was in geology.
Then, Randy, we should do this together.
We should.
Start studying again. I'm enjoying a lot. I've been studying a lot in these 2 months, just so you know, guys. It was a pleasure. I felt like I've learned so much, and it's a lot thanks to you. So thank you. Without doing these classes, I wouldn't have been as much motivated, but you forced me to do so, and I'm very, very happy. Okay, any comments or questions on the Falanghina, which I'm really enjoying? I'll take another sip. Let's move to Aglianico. Okay, I told you Aglianico is the most important grape for both Campania and Basilicata. In Campania is it goes in 2 of the 4 DOCGs, which is Taurasi and then Aglianico del Taburno, and then again it's grown in other areas too. You have Aglianico del Sannio, I have an example here, Irpinia Aglianico. Here so far in terms of other great producers for Aglianico, I have Terre Stregate, that also makes a great Falanghina, that's called Svelato, that wins the Tre Bicchieri, the higher prize for the Gambero Rosso panel of wine critics. You have D'Antiche Terre, also very good producer for Aglianico. They also make Greco, Fiano, and Falanghina. And then if we move to Basilicata, beside the one that we're trying today, here's one that we carry at Solare. You remember I talked about Elena Fucci as one of the most important producer of Aglianico del Vulture. So this is her titolo, okay? Great Aglianico del Vulture. And we have it available at the restaurant. So main grape there, late ripener, noble grape, one along with Sangiovese and Nebbiolo, the number 3 most important grape in terms of greatness and age-worthiness of the wines that we have in Italy. called from many people also the Nebbiolo of the South. And when you talk about Taurasi in specific, some talk about Taurasi as the Barolo of the South because of some elements that Aglianico and Nebbiolo share in terms of aromas, in terms of the high acidity, the high tannin structures, and of course these two last things, acidity and tannins, it's what make Aglianico also a very age-worthy variety. But Aglianico can be made in many styles, so you're gonna have fun with youthful and fresh Aglianico like the one that we're trying today. It's actually made a little bit at lower altitudes, and it's a mix of different plots that the family Piccin, not to be confused with Piccini, that's our chef Filippo Piccini. Curiously enough, the family Piccin moved to Basilicata about a little bit over 20 years ago, but before starting making Aglianico, they were in Tuscany making Vino Nobile di Montepulciano for about 20 years. Then I guess they got tired of dealing with Sangiovese and they said, let me go and challenge myself with another noble grape of Italy. And they moved to Basilicata. Now the company is run by the two kids, but husband and wife again moved there about 25 years ago and started the Grifalco winery. And they also make some amazing single vineyards from Ginestra and from Manaschito, I believe that's another single vineyard. So if you fall in love with Aglianico, check out also the other wines that Grifalco makes. Maybe Alex is there from Oliver Macron, that's the supplier that we get that from. As per the Falangina, I'm saying hi to Aaron if he's there. This is imported by Diaz Imports, that's now distributed by Southern. So thank you for making it possible to have this beautiful wine here today, both of you guys. Thank you. Now let's look and taste the wine. So remember, Aglianico, you're gonna you have, this is a 100% by the way. The two denomination in Campania do not require 100% Aglianico, but just a minimum of 85%. The Aglianico del Vulture is the only Aglianico based appellation that requires 100% Aglianico. So it's a mono-varietal wine, like Brunello di Montalcino in Tuscany, right? Being the only one that requires 100%. Let me see if I want to tell you something else about Aglianico. Definitely an older grape of Italy, just so you know guys, and definitely when you read around that it comes from Greece, therefore the name Aglianico from Hellenico, not true. As per DNA studies that we conducted not too long ago, mostly at Scienza and his team in north of Italy at the university, we now know that he has absolutely zero parentage with any modern grapes still existing in Greece. Therefore, we now think that Aglianico was actually a wild grape already existing in Campania that then was domesticated and they started to make wines out of it. So absolutely no Greek origin. And pretty old. I mean, we're talking about, I believe, 800 before Christ that we started to actually have Aglianico around. So right at the time where the Greeks arrived. Let's now look and taste of the wine. Deep color, so that would be the main difference with Nebbiolo. We discussed that it's considered to have similarities with it, definitely not in the color though. The colors in Aglianico is definitely gonna be darker. This one doesn't have a lot of the flowers notes that you would find, floral notes that you would find in a Nebbiolo. This one is definitely more fruit forward, if you ask me. Definitely red fruit, but also a little bit of darker fruit like plums. Very pretty. You taste that minerality that I was talking about. Are you able to distinct that specific kind of compound? And also that savoriness that I was talking about, herbal. Trying to see here if there's something in the winemaker notes. Blackberry, black cherry, so yeah, the more that I smell it and taste it, more on the darker side of fruit, less red. Maybe a little bit of licorice and the wild herbs that we were talking about. Very nicely balanced. The tannins are quite sweet, not too astringent. I call this a wine with a juicy acidity, so it is there, but it's not in your face, right? Very pretty. Very balanced wines. Any question on Aglianico? Because I think I'm almost done with my time, and there's a couple more things we have to tell you, so I don't want to keep you there too long. Let me know if you have any questions on Aglianico. In the meantime, what you think if you have questions. Next class again will be the big islands of Italy, Sicilia and Sardegna. We're gonna try one wine from each region. The most important varieties for each region, or almost.
No,
Vermentino and
I'm
Cannonau.
sad to say it, but that's the last class of this series, right?
It is. I think if you guys want, we might think about doing something else, other
Well,
themes.
I don't know. Let's get feedback from everybody.
Yeah.
Send us an email or do comments now. But I was thinking while you were talking, maybe we could do one final session that would be almost like a fun final exam, and you could ask questions. And it isn't like people have to respond right away. That might be logistically hard, but say within 30 minutes or 20 minutes after the meeting, whoever gets them in first and has the best answers wins like
Something.
a bottle of some wonderful wine or something
like
even
that.
better.
I was about to tell you there should
Yeah.
be a prize though. So
There would be. So
maybe
let's think
we'll also
about,
make a little
Yeah.
passport for you that you graduated the course.
we should do that definitely as
Yeah.
well. But yeah, I think both those ideas are really good. Let's brainstorm.
Yeah, we'll brainstorm and let you know, but we also would love your feedback about that. I mean, if you have enjoyed these classes, maybe not twice a week, but we can still do something fun around wines. I'm definitely super happy to do so. But let us know if you like that. And any other questions on Aglianico, Randy? There's something that they're asking.
Our great friend Rosa Maria just wants to know where do we purchase these wines. So I'd say send us an email. We can work with you if you're curious. Definitely.
Yeah.
And just so everybody knows, we do have the ability to get you these wines. We can give them to you at extremely good prices. And a lot of these wines, as you can imagine, you're just not going to get somewhere else. So just send us a note. The information's there at the bottom of your screen.
Now, Randy, why don't
Lori said, I thought there was 10 classes. Well, the first one, it was the kickoff class. So we did have a 30-minute kickoff class, and then there were the 9 classes with the regions. So good question. So I think we're going to be making it 10 with this fun drinking final exam.
I like that. That was a great idea, Randy. Okay, I think, Randy, there's something else we want to tell to our friends before we let them go.
Yeah, just before you go, we discussed it briefly at the end of our session on Tuesday, but we do have a few spots left for a really epic Piemonte wine tasting lunch this Saturday, so 2 days from now. Similar to last time, let me describe some of the logistics. And Petra, if you could take the lead on the exact winery and the wines and so on, that would be wonderful. But just so everybody knows, this is a very rare opportunity in that this Saturday at noon our time, we're going to be doing a Zoom live lunch, very limited in the number of people that can come. But we'll be setting up a Zoom meeting, so you'll be doing the lunch from your home. And on the Zoom will be Orlando Pecanino from one of the best wineries in Piemonte, Barolo. He is the winemaker there. So he'll be at his estate in Piemonte, in Barolo. That's the name of the winery. He'll be at his winery at the estate. It'll be 9 o'clock at night for him, noon for us, so he'll be ready to rock and roll. But he's going to join us for 90 minutes. And so we're going to limit it to 14 participants. So not people, but 14 entities that log on to Zoom. So there'll be 14 windows on the screen. And we'll all be together with a really amazing wine tasting. And also you'll be getting the lunch from Solare. So basically the way it works is sometime after 4:30 tomorrow or before 11 o'clock on Saturday, you'll pick up a great 4-course lunch that Chef Filippo and Petra designed. It is meant to pair beautifully with 3 great Pecanino wines. And so you're going to come and get the wines, you'll come and get the food, and then you'll go back to your home, you'll settle in, you'll fire up Zoom, you'll start eating food, drinking wine, and hang out with Orlando Pecanino and us. It's really going to be a great opportunity. The price is actually reasonable. For all 3 bottles of wine is $90. Remember, we're talking Barolos and so on, so these are not inexpensive wines. And you have 3 full bottles, so if there's 2 of you, that's plenty of wine to get your Saturday going. And then the lunch that goes with it is $90 for 2 persons, so $45 a person. So the short story is, for $180, you can be part of this group on Saturday. Sign up right away. We just had somebody call before the class. Hi, Tim. And he's all signed up and ready to go. We have a few more spots left. This is something you should definitely do if you are available at noon on Saturday and find it interesting. Petra, why don't you talk a little bit more about the winery and the wines?
Yeah, so Pecanino, great producers. We've been working with them already for a couple of years. We've been buying their wines. And the wines that we're going to use on Saturday are their Langhe Chardonnay, so a Chardonnay made in the region of Langhe. Then their Dolcetto Dogliani, which they're very famous for. And then we're gonna have their Barolo, the one where they kind of use grapes from different vineyards that they own in different areas of Langhe. So those are gonna be the 3 wines. As Randy said, it's a great deal. You're getting 3 full bottles. It's not like a wine dinner where you just get your 3-ounce pour. You have as much as you want of each wine. And just to clarify, I'm not sure if you understood where Randy said it, but the price is actually per person 90. So if you're a single individual that wants to join, it's not 180, but it's 90. If you're a couple, of course, it goes up to 180. Just making sure. I personally thought it was not super clear, so just want to make sure you know. And for pickup, for the menu, just so you know, I'm going to put it out there. We're having a beautiful Tono del Chianti paired with the Chardonnay. I'm just telling you the menu as it is, without modifications for allergies or dietary restrictions, which we can certainly accommodate. But the main menu is Tono del Chianti, our beautiful lasagna, and then we're doing a lamb shank for 2, and then a beautiful chocolate mousse that will not be paired with a wine, but it's like to finish your meal with something sweet. And I really hope you can join it. Again, we have just a few spots left. Call us, email us, let us know, and we'll set you up. Okay?